welcome to Bus Speakers. I'm Kush,
And Alex.
and today we're here with again Ed, also known as Placid Burrito.
Hey guys.
Today we're going to be talking about in this discussion. We're talking about songs that had an impact on our lives, and just to start off, I think I want to give big thumbs up to the band Green Day and Linkin Park, because I think although most people don't like them, they were the ones that really got me into music. Like, which I listened to in middle school as an angsty preteen. And then that's the music I listened to, and that's the music that really just got me falling in love with music. So I think just them as bands are some of the ones that had the biggest impact on my life.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff still holds up though if you actually listen. Like, a lot of Linkin Park singles are still quite fun to listen to.
Yeah.
I'm sure you agree with that.
The most recent stuff I can't really press, but I still enjoy some of their music. Yeah.
So if I was going for a more band scale thing that had an impact on my life, it'll be the stock answer of the Beatles. But I can limit it down to one song, which is Come Together, which you both might have heard of. It's quite a famous song.
Of course.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what's the most famous with them, but yes. But the weird thing is, it's not a recording by the Beatles that got me so into it. Now, in 2010, I was not such a cool music guy. I was watching, the X Factor, and I remember there was a Beatles time and Beatles night, and Matt Cardle did a very, very bad cover of "Come Together."
I remember that.
No,
Jesus.
he extends the chorus of that "Come Together, Come Together" over me, and then I heard the Beatles version, and obviously that's just "Come Together" over me, and I'm like, what is Matt Cardle doing, or what is the Beatles doing? Why is it not the same? But then obviously I realised Matt Cardle just messed up the song, and I don't know how he won that one. I don't know how he won the X Factor that year, especially considering One Direction were in, because obviously they've had much bigger impact on the world than he has. But then that was my introduction into the Beatles, because I saw an advert for the Red and Blue album remastered, because they were remastering all of the Beatles catalogue in 2009-10, and I got those for Christmas, and well, I heard that again, and it had a big impact on me.
Why specifically would you choose Come Together?
Just because of the introduction from Matt Cardle, that correlation, and because it was actually my favourite song by theirs out of this incident for quite a few months, actually.
I mean, for me, my first exposure to the Beatles was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They had a Twist and Shout, and that one scene when he's in the parade and just dancing around. So that's when I
love that movie.
It's a fantastic movie. That's when I think I fell in love with the Beatles. They're currently my most played artist on Last FM, so that's saying something.
They're very playable, the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
I probably listen to 2 albums by theirs every week easy, just involuntarily. Somehow I'm 3 tracks into Rubber Soul. How did this happen? It's because they've had a big impact on my life, and that's what we're talking about today. Oh.
I think the Beatles are really interesting because I think the way the mainstream media canonizes them is very different from people like us who, I don't know what we label ourselves as, just
big fucking nerds.
Yeah, basically. I can't argue with that in my case. Where we can pick apart the Beatles and in all these crazy different ways, and I personally have taken the White Album and cut it down to 10 tracks, and only in that way can I listen to it and consider it a cohesive project. Just that sort of stuff.
No way I can do that. Even I need to hear Revolution 9 for some reason. I'm probably a bit mental, but
yeah.
Revolution 9's on my personal White Album.
What is it? Oh, that's the one that most people criticize on the White Album, but I think it's really cool and experimental.
I think it's cool, but I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to it.
It's not a banger, is it?
No, it's definitely not a banger.
Oh no, you couldn't put it on in the club or any Beatles song almost, but still.
Yeah, Ed, what were your some emotionally impacting or songs that impacted you?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with my least obscure choice first. I'm sure most people listening, and definitely you guys, will be familiar with this song. The band behind this track is seemingly on the brink of releasing their 4th studio album at some point, which is easily my most hyped album of the year at the moment. And I think when I explain my love for this song and the impact it's had on me, that'll make very much sense why. The song is Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz.
Oh, I love
yeah,
Gorillaz.
that's a good choice, yeah.
So I first heard this track on the radio at a very young age when it became a huge hit. But a slight technicality there is that I think it may have been the Ed Case remix that also blew up around the same time, if you guys remember that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The original is better.
Regardless,
I know that specific version, but
I mean, it had the same verses either way, so like whatever. But regardless, I'm talking about the original version, Gorillaz featuring Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Basically, everyone and their mum knows this song, but it's special to me personally, as I feel in some sort of crazy chaos theory influenced prospects that it sort of kickstarted my love of music in a way.
right.
And I was very, very young. I'm not going to like say how old I was because I don't feel that's necessarily relevant, but yeah, I was very young when I first heard this. And a few years went by and my parents bought me the Phase 1 DVD, which was like a compilation of all the Gorillaz stuff from around that era of the band.
From around the first album, yeah.
Yeah, and the Space Monkeys stuff and all that sort of stuff. All the music videos, whatnot. And I like really swiftly became obsessed with Gorillaz. All the music, all the art, all the crazy stuff surrounding that band. I guess you could say they were like my first musical love, as it were. I mean, anyone who knew me at the time would have known that I was completely obsessed with Gorillaz and basically nothing else. But yeah, this was around the time Demon Days came out, which is probably their most celebrated album. I don't think many people can argue with that statement.
It's probably their most cohesive and best one.
Yeah, and my brother bought that on CD, and I listened to that CD constantly. Gorillaz' Debut was the first CD I ever bought with my own money. And what's crazy, I think when people talk about bands that they used to love, they sort of look on them in this light of like, I'm more mature now, so I shouldn't really like this anymore. I still freaking love Gorillaz.
No, of course.
Like,
yeah, they're one of the best.
And they're a great band to be in because of the sort of interpervasive nature of like how they blend genres and bring on collaborators. But yeah, enough rambling about that. To focus on the song itself, it's really obvious why this was a hit to me. I imagine it felt really fresh at the time. It had Damon Albarn at the helm, just fresh off of the whole Blur business.
It also aged really well. Like, still you can play it and it's still a fantastic song.
Definitely, and I still hear that Ed Case remix in party scenarios. I still hear that on playlists. But who can forget that really killer bass line, that awesome music video that I still remember frame for frame to this day. I mean, as with a number of Gorillaz tunes, it's almost the perfect recipe for a sort of genre blending pop collab. Del's rap is insanely memorable. I remember singing along to this and Feel Good Inc. with friends at primary school, which is probably quite sad to say, but I don't know, good times.
So, not to, like, I know you're enjoying this conversation, but so supposedly the Gorillaz' upcoming album tracklist is leaked. Have you seen that?
Yeah, man, I've been following it really closely over the past few days. Yeah. I actually exposed a fake Snapchat account the other day.
I know Ed's been doing some serious work on that account. Yeah.
So I just saw it and I retweeted it on Twitter. But it's supposed to be a Danny Brown feature, a Vince Staple feature, a Dram feature.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
It sounds incredible.
It's gonna be a Pusha T feature. It's gonna be absolutely. I think it's gonna be fantastic. I hope it is.
Grace Jones.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Carly Rae, who I've been listening to a bit recently. I really like her voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to quickly finally sum up, Gorillaz were really deeply integrated into my life in the sort of early mid 2000s, and now that we're anticipating their new album that we just mentioned, which, by the way, that album could well be out by the time this episode of Busted Speakers is released, which would be quite funny, but here's hoping, fingers crossed. But now that we're anticipating it, I've found myself sort of looking back really fondly on a lot of good times. You know, it's great. Nothing but positivity attached to Clint Eastwood and many other Gorillaz songs. I just happened to pick that one because it's the first one I remember hearing. But yeah. You guys got anything else to add about that track?
Not about that track specifically, but I want to go on to another track that I really, I think, impacted my life greatly was the generic Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Oh yeah,
that song.
That's really fair enough though.
It's probably one of my favorite songs of all time, just because how singable it is and how much it really means. And there's so many theories about what the song is actually talking about, what Freddie Mercury actually means by that song. But I think the best context is like me and my friends have widely different music tastes, but that's the one song that if it comes on in the car, everyone's singing, no matter what. And I think it just really did bond our friendship, because we would go around like at 12 o'clock at night driving in a car just singing that song for no reason whatsoever, other than it's a fantastic song. So I think that really helped me like bond with my friends, and the song itself is just fantastic. There's so many different parts and elements to it. It just really did impact me and bring me closer to my right now lifelong friends. So
it's really crazy, that song, because like I think it's so deeply ingrained in a lot of us. We can all remember the vocals and the lyrics, but like you say, there's so many different phases to it, and it's kind of this huge pop monolith that has like so many crazy different parts that it's kind of weird that it's so memorable in a way. Not to put down the song, but like how it became a hit is kind of bizarre to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just one of those amazing songs, and that's a testament to how good it is that people who enjoy different music tastes, this song somehow coalesces in the middle and everyone loves it. I agree. I've found that to be true of a lot of people I know who do not like mid-70s pop, which obviously this originates from, and somehow this, and actually a lot of other Queen songs are quite accessible to a lot of people today as well, but this one in particular, it's amazing to me how just readily available everyone is to just love it and know about everything about it and still consider it one of the best songs ever.
It's a great tune. Kush, what do you think of the Panic at the Disco remake?
I didn't hate it as much as most people did. I thought it was a decent attempt, because like there's very few people who can actually pull that song off and make it sound good besides Freddie Mercury.
It's a karaoke version. I only really brought it up in jest, but yeah.
No, I think it was okay. On the other hand, I watched this, I think it was X Factor, I want to say, or British X Factor, something like that, and these three girls did a cover of it, and I don't know anything about them, but God, was that awful. And like...
They probably shouldn't have attempted that.
I mean, we've already mentioned Matt Cardle fucking up Come Together of all things, so like it's to be expected, really. Because
like I was watching it and then everyone's commenting, "Wow, these girls should do a full version and this and that." And I'm like, they butchered this song. It sounds nothing. It has no emotion to it. Everything just sounds so bland and generic. And like they made like a pop version of it. And it's like, you ruined the song. Like I don't think people realize how much you butchered the song.
Okay, I'll go with I had to mention some Radiohead in here because they had an immense impact on my life. I think I've mentioned in the discussion before that for about a year I was basically enraptured with just everything Radiohead, probably around 2012-13, and still am obviously, but that was a really heavy concentrated period. So I chose the song Fake Plastic Trees. That had a really big impact on me. That got me really emotional. It got me really emotionally invested with Tom York and the gang, but the fact he was like so disillusioned with fake corporate plastic life in general. Back in '95, this is before social media and reality TV and a lot of other things that could be considered fake and plastic now is amazing to me. It seems like quite a forward-thinking song, and man, not even talking about the subject matter lyrically, just the damn performance of that just gives me rushes in my heart every time I hear it. The high-pitched sort of tenor, no, not tenor, well, sort of tenor vocally attempts that towards the end is amazing to me.
The build on that track is so good.
So I don't know, it didn't change my life. It just had a big impact on making me. I'd say it actually helped contribute to me liking more modern music in general, because before Radiohead I was distinctly more of a retro music type of guy. But that was probably the gateway into me liking, obviously now, a lot more newer music, because before then it was Beatles, Pink Floyd, The Doors, all of the old stuff. And I think even on my Twitter account it still says something like "love old music," as if I hate old new music. But I think that's still there. But yeah.
I mean, Radiohead is such a loved band, and it's easy to see why, because they put out so many amazing projects, and they're such a huge monolith in music history that...
Can I quickly go into another song? Just quickly.
Let's just pretend there wasn't a cut there, even though it's probably really obvious. Yes, go on, Alex.
Okay, Run Away With Me by Carly Rae Jepsen. This kickstarted my love with pop music completely, because I was a bit of a rockist before, even though obviously stuff like the Beatles is distinctly pop from that decade. But now there's a good chance I like anything from half of the top 40 UK chart in the UK. There's a good chance I like half of it. And this stems from Run Away With Me opening the doors on my realisation that pop music is great. And now, I think I mentioned in the Charlie XCX review, I have a big pantheon of pop artists I love. I won't list them again, but it's pretty wide spanning. And man, this song is euphoric to me. It's everything I love about it.
I absolutely adore that song. I love the album it comes from. Carly Rae has a new one coming out this year. Absolutely can't wait for it. Kush is sniggering because he's not heard it.
I have not heard it, no.
Kush, you've got to listen to Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen. It'll change your life. Seriously.
So what happened with that is I heard Call Me Maybe, hated that song. Absolutely hated that song. And never had any motivation to go back to check any more Carly Rae Jepsen, so I just haven't. But I've been told on many, many accounts to go check it out. So hopefully I will eventually do that.
I mean, I like Call Me Maybe personally, but I didn't when it came out. I've sort of retroactively gone back and come to appreciate it a lot more. But she was really seen as this one-hit wonder until the album that the track Alex mentioned came out. Yeah, it's just a great record, man.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I can see what you mean though, Kush, because I was a bit incredulous when Ed was hyping this up back in 2015. I was thinking, this seems a bit out of left field, a bit weird. But then I heard, I Really Like You, and then subsequently, I was like okay with that song. I was thinking it was okay. And then Run Away With Me, that blew me away. So this turned me from basically where you think about Carly Rae Jepsen now, Kush, to absolutely like her biggest fan. So that's probably... big impact.
I'm a bigger fan than you.
Oh, let's not go into this.
Well, you guys can be the 2 20-year-old men in a sea of 13-year-olds at a concert.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I think.
to see Queen Carly perform.
I think one of my next songs that really impacted me was "Friend Please" by 21 Pilots. Now, it's an unpopular opinion because everyone hates 21 Pilots. I don't know why. I actually
haven't heard them. I've never heard them. I always hear all this hype about everyone hating them, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more like, fan bases ruin bands and it ruins their interpretation of bands. I think that's what happened to them because their fan base is like, oh, you're not allowed to have an opinion besides this is the best band ever and whatnot, which I think they're a really good band, but I acknowledge that they have flaws, and I'm able to overlook their flaws into their music, which is something that doesn't impact my listening experience. But the song "Friend Please" by them, it really means a lot because it's about he's singing about singing to someone who is suicidal and telling him like, "Friend, please don't take your life from me." I was like super emotional in the high school, and to this day still have bipolar disorder. So like those kind of songs always get me. But this one, I think the way he sings it and the way the melody's playing, I think he sings from his heart. So that's why it impacted me more than I think most other like emotional or suicide or depression songs do.
That's cool, man. I'll have to check them out.
Oh, I did hear the song Ride, because I hadn't heard it last time we were talking about 21 Pilots, but I actually think that's pretty good, Kush.
I think their music is fine. I think I understand they have flaws, but I think the biggest problem is their fan base ruins them. Like, the moment you criticize them, the skeleton clique, as they call themselves, will hound you down, and they will ruin everything. Like, if you look at Anthony Fantano's review, it has like more dislikes than likes on that. I think the review.
I mean, constructive criticism, more often than not, comes from a place of love, you know?
Of course.
Criticizing your favorite bands, like, is more... it shows more dedication and sort of fanaticism to me than someone who just mindlessly loves and defends absolutely everything they'll put out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, if that's what the fan base is like, I can see why people are turned off, because I don't know. It's the music that matters at the end of the day, which is obviously why you've chosen that song.
Yeah. How about you, Ed? Any other songs?
Yeah. This track, I'm absolutely certain that you guys haven't heard it, so I'm just going to talk about it for like 2 minutes and then we'll move on.
Well, we'll see. Come on.
We'll see. The second track I've chosen is a song called Almond Milk Paradise by Milo from his 2013 EP, Things That Happen at Day.
I could have heard that, but I'm bothered to listen to Milo, but for some reason I haven't.
Well, that's where you've gone wrong, mate. So this track, to me personally, is a really life-affirming ode to sort of childhood innocence that packs a slew of really witty pop culture references, a really great feature from Safari Al on the chorus, and some seriously fantastic production from Riley Lake, who is still like virtually unknown. I don't know what he's been doing these past few years, but man, he's such a good producer. And the reason I love this song so much is it really captures that sort of innate sense of wonder that's associated with childhood. And I guess you could say this song, which came out in 2013, by the way, which was when I was sort of making that awkward transition into adolescence. It sort of helped me philosophically in a way, from a lyrical standpoint, and tonally it's just a pure joy to listen to. You know, the lyrics of this one are pretty cool, and they really highlight Milo's sort of self-awareness as like a philosophical rapper in a kind of self-critical but really affirming way. And it's sort of about remembering and holding on to what you enjoy in your childhood, keeping that well from being poisoned. Just to quickly quote some lyrics from the song, he starts it out with this kind of pretentious, but like he's fully aware it's really pretentious, spoken word bit, before following it up with lyrics about rebuilding Castle Grayskull from dirty laundry. And then he makes references in one line to breaking his fair share of mattresses, which obviously leads to some pretty, you know, lewd assumptions in the mind of the listener. But then he quickly follows that up quite amusingly with the next line by saying he broke them by jumping on them and pretending they were trampoline. So it's really silly, but like kind of enlightening. And I mean, in terms of Milo, who I don't know how familiar with that rapper, but he's one of the younger rap artists out there, and
he did a couple songs with Bus Driver, I believe.
Yeah, he has huge Bus Driver influence. And they used to be in this sort of pact called Hellfire Club, which has sadly kind of quietly disbanded in a way. But
yeah, I also love Bus Driver, so I
oh man, you'll love Milo then.
I'll definitely check it out.
I mean, I suppose in terms of Milo's career, you could argue that this track, Almond Milk Paradise, is like kind of an apex of a less mature period in Milo's career as a rapper, but it really came along at the right time for me. Like I say, I was making that transition into adolescence back when I first heard this, and I would keep coming back to it. And a good chunk of the rest of Milo's discography at the time. I played a lot of video games like Monster Hunter while vibing out to Milo's quirky philosophical raps, and it was just a great time. And to sum it up, you know, Milo's really matured and changed with his recent output, I think, and I'm still a big fan of his. But his early stuff, from the I Wish My Brother Rob Was Here tape to the Day and Night EPs to an EP called Cavalcade, which was also produced by Riley Lake. His early stuff will always hold a special place in my heart, and Almond Milk Paradise is basically the zenith of that for me.
It's pretty nice, that song.
It's an amazing song. It's so wonderful. Just before I finish, I should specify that I'm talking about the 4-minute version, because there's another version that ties it together with another track called Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm not talking about that version, just talking about the shorter one. But yeah, amazing track.
I think my last song that I want to talk about is it was a Hallelujah, the Jeff Buckley version.
Oh yeah.
My God, yes.
I love that song so much. I think it's another song that's it's a really good sing-along song, but like once you realize what he's actually talking about and how the emotion he sings it with, you get depressed. Like you just want to sit there and think and just cry a little bit. It's such a sad song, but it's such a great song. I know Leonard Cohen obviously was the original writer and singer. And I love Leonard Cohen, but I don't think that was one of his best songs, at least the way he performed it. I think Jeff Buckley does the song justice. And there have been dozens and dozens of artists who try to cover it like he did.
Nobody's topped the Jeff Buckley version.
There is no one that's even gotten close, I think. I think Leonard Cohen's a close second, but I think that Jeff Buckley really does the song justice.
For
You
sure.
heard the Rufus Wainwright version, that's pretty good actually.
Huh. No, I've not heard that.
Yeah,
It's as close as you get to a good Hallelujah performance today. If you go see him in concert, that's the best you'll get. Not that he's good. Yeah, he is good, but you know, without Jeff and Leonard, it's the best we'll have.
The whole Grace album by Jeff Buckley, who sadly passed away soon after releasing that record, is so special to me, and I assume it means a lot to you as well, Kush.
Oh yeah, of course. That's one of my, I want to say, favorite albums. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's one of my most formative albums. One of the first albums I picked up at a garage sale and I listened to over and over and over again. So
likewise for me, although I only heard it a couple of years ago, I just think it's a masterpiece of an album. Rest in peace, Jeff.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Jeff. I've got one more as well. This is a song that I know Ed's heard, Fuzzy by Grant Lee Buffalo.
Yeah.
This song, this sends me on a trip every time I hear it. It's one of the most emotional, beautiful songs I've ever heard. It's really nice, emotive vocals during the great expressive guitar solo. And every time I hear those like opening acoustic chords, I get chills down the side of... I'm getting chills talking about it.
Don't blame you, man.
Just talking about these songs that mean so much to me is... It's actually not easy, but I really love this song, and I actually heard it again on Friday. We recorded this a few days after, and man, I wasn't sure about including it, but that was the first time I heard it in about 6 months, and it was as good as the first time, which was actually late at night in a car drive, and it just came out of nowhere on the radio. That was playing a lot of good songs, you know, 60s soul songs. I love 60s soul, but this came out of nowhere and impressed me. And I think also the aspect of me discovering it, because I wasn't sure what the name of the artist was. The only word I caught was Buffalo and Fuzzy, and I was like, I searched Buffalo Fuzzy, and I got a few dodgy search results, but finally I found it after 2 hours. Can you believe that? And just the discovery of it made it so much better. And yeah, this is one of my favourite songs. It's probably the only song on here that I'd that's be in my top 5 favourite songs as well. It's the only time it intercrosses, even though I love all the others, obviously. But yeah, love that song.
It's a great song. I think what's really unique about that track is it's really atmospheric, but not because of the instrumental, more because of the vocal performance.
Yeah.
Just, it's really chilling, but also, I don't know, it really gives this track that's really unique atmosphere. And I imagine driving home in a car at a dark night, hearing it on the radio, it's like the perfect setting to be exposed to that track.
No, I haven't listened to it. So it's a 60s soul song?
No, it's a 90s.
No, it's a 90s
rock song.
Oh, God.
It just happens to be played amongst those tracks.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. Yeah. I didn't specify that, to be fair, but yeah.
I have one more track, if you're done, Alex.
Yeah, well, the other one was Push the Sky Away by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, which basically is just...
Say a bit about that.
Well, I'll just say quickly, it's like one of the... I was in tears at the end of that. That's the only time a song's ever brought me to tears, because of how beautiful and desolate it was. Okay, that's all. Basically the only time it had... It's the biggest emotional impact I've had to a song, basically.
Well,
it's a rare thing to be brought to tears by a song, I think.
Well, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, his music is very often just super depressing stuff anyways. I think that song specifically, I was also in tears when I first heard that song, just because he had...
Really?
Yeah, because, I don't know, I think, well, I'm probably much easier to put into tears than you are, but
Right.
I think that song specifically was just such a tearjerker, just especially the way he delivers it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just, he sounds like he's heartbroken, so I don't know. It's crazy.
The atmosphere at the start of that, Liz, he doesn't even get into the song properly for a minute. It's just a weird ambient atmosphere, but it is amazing, that song.
I've never listened to Nick Cave, crucify me.
We will,
okay.
Don't worry, we will.
All your life to listen to music. Yeah.
So my final song is, thankfully I can be a lot snappier about this one because I haven't written many notes on it, admittedly. But yeah, my final track is Get Up by Slater Kinney.
Well, I have heard that. I got the hot rock.
Alright, cool. It's from, so like Alex says, it's from their 1999 album, The Hot Rock, which is a very good album, but this particular song is incredible to me. It's easily the best song in their discography for me personally. And I won't go into detail about it, but I was going through some really horrible personal troubles at the time when I first heard this track. And I actually first heard it in tandem with its really cool music video, which I'm still not entirely sure what the video's meant to represent, but it just felt like being lifted away from all the sadness I was experiencing at the time. And it's just a killer song. It really stands out in their discography because it takes the fundamentals of... for those who don't know, Slater Kinney is an all-female rock band, punk band, featuring Carrie Brownstein and Janet Weiss and Corin Tucker. And they're a killer band, dude. Like, I mean, anyone who says girls can't rock needs to be exposed to that band, because...
Yeah, definitely.
It'll shut their man-child mouths right up. But Get Up, conversely, is more of a sort of atmospheric, weird... It has these cool, like, spoken word parts that drift over it, in a way, and I don't know what it is about it. It's just one of those songs that, like, you hear, and what you are hearing and experiencing is beyond description, and the best way I can summarize why it impacted my life. And this is the most recent song I heard out of the three that I've picked. It just really helped me. I mean, Alex, if you've heard the track, do you want to say anything about it?
Well, I've heard the track, but I don't know, the hot rock in general, like, it didn't do as much for me as Dig Me Out or The Woods did, but I did still really like it. And
I
that's
can
one that
actually
liked.
agree with that. The Hot Rock, out of those 3 albums, is actually my least favorite. I just happen to absolutely adore this one song.
It's the best song on the album by far, and I do really like it. It's a nice, like, it does make you want to get up and do things, I guess. But I haven't heard it. No, I haven't heard it enough to talk too much about it. But I have heard it, and I do really like it.
The vocals on the track are just wonderful, and it reaches kind of an apex towards the end, which I've noticed a lot of songs I love are ones that build up to this really sort of cathartic finish. And it's not a particularly long song either. It's just it flows really well. Great performances, great vocals. One of my favorite tracks, but also a track that really kind of helps me in a time of need, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm out of songs. I mean, I have a lot more songs, but I don't want to keep you guys waiting here for another half hour. So.
That's cool, man. We'll have to do another one of these at some point.
Oh, for sure. I can probably get more if I wanted to.
Yeah, probably get more as well. This is just the tip of the iceberg, as they say.
Well, if that's in, thanks for tuning in, Blessed Speakers. Let us know what songs impacted your life the most in the comments below. So check out some of our other videos and check us out on social media.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
No
See
problem.
ya.